Geringer. As a fun thought experiment, what do you think would be the first things LRH would do if he walked into a Scientology church tomorrow and was somehow authenticated? Use R245 on Miscavige immediately for his squirrel changes to the tech? Probably. I think L. Ron Hubbard would be furious at David Miscavige for the massive numbers of changes that he has made to Scientology's materials, and more importantly, how he has brought complete disgrace upon the Scientology brand through his utter incompetence and ineptitude. David Miscavige is one of the worst administrators and leaders you could possibly, ever want to have anything to do with. And while Hubbard was going, rather senile and wackadoo in his later years, he and Mary Sue, together, not individually, together, he and Mary Sue built up the Church of Scientology into a fairly large and certainly prosperous organization in its heyday. And it was on track to keep going, but Miscavige got in the mix, and Hubbard started going crazy, and I mean literally, losing his marbles, and started taking actions like destroying the Mission Network. That was a huge, gigantic mistake on both of their parts. And of course, Hubbard ended up in seclusion and died, and Miscavige took over. So Hubbard would not be happy at all. In fact, if we understand things properly, according to Jesse Prince's narratives, David Miscavige's head was on the chopping block at near the end of Hubbard's life in about 1985 or so, because Hubbard died in 86. Jesse Prince was interrogating David Miscavige, security checking him on L. Ron Hubbard's orders. And though reports from those security checks never made it to Hubbard, and that was one of the reasons that Miscavige skated and got out of a huge viper's nest of trouble he had put himself into. So he barely, skated by the hair of his chinny chin chin. If he and Pat Broker had not been working in collusion to keep that information from L. Ron Hubbard, Scientology would be extremely different these days. Really different. Not necessarily better, just different. Anyway, Hubbard would definitely scapegoat Miscavige in a microsecond for all of his failure to expand Scientology and for his ruination of Gold Base and Int management and the destruction of the entire structure of Scientology. Again, as I laid out in the video, Scientology's Organizational Madness, so you can check that video out also if you want to know what I'm talking about with all of that. And I think that's how he would deal with things. To the public, Hubbard would probably put some kind of project together. He would probably put some kind of issue together, apologizing for all of the issues and problems with Scientology over the years. I'm sure he would issue some kind of amnesty or something for people like me to try to get us back, which wouldn't work, but at least he would, pretty sure he would try. If Hubbard was feeling in his beneficent side of his personality, right? Hubbard had, kind of multiple personalities and ways of dealing with things. But I'm giving Hubbard all the benefit of the doubt here that he's looking at things clearly and from a position of mental competence, which was not his mental state at the end of his life, but, earlier in his life it was. So, and of course, Hubbard being Hubbard, he would, blame everybody else, and he would, put his policies back in force, as they were originally written, and he would take out Miscavige's alterations and all of that. So there would be a very, very interesting resurgence in interest in Scientology if something like that were to happen. I mean, something like that just couldn't help but get out into the public, and if somebody was claiming they were L. Ron Hubbard reincarnated, oh man, can you imagine? Anyway, I'm probably going beyond the bounds of your question here, but those are the things I think Hubbard would do in a fairly straightforward manner if he came back.